A loop is used to run a block of code repeatedly based on the condition specified. In Python, there are two types of loops, for and while. We'll talk about for loop in this video. The syntax will be for keyword followed by the variable that you want to use as a loop variable, followed by the keyword in, followed by the sequence. It can be a list or tuple or string or range or anything. And then we have the code that you want to execute repeatedly. Let's take a simple example. I have a list of names. I want to loop through each of these names and print hello followed by each of these names. So how can I do that? So we have names list. I am using a loop variable name that would represent each item in the list names. So for name in names, print this name which is appended with hello. Let's run this code. We see hello John, hello Alice, hello Jerry. Let's look at another example where we loop through tuple. I have a tuple with the list of programming languages. I want to print it like this. Programming languages followed by all these programming languages with comma. So I have a variable language str which is initially assigned to empty string. I am looping through programming languages tuple using for loop, and language is my loop variable. I am appending language plus comma every time we loop through each item in this tuple. Finally, I am printing this message with the language string. Let's see the output. We have the expected output here, but the only difference is I don't want this comma at the end. Let me remove this comma first. And let's use an if condition here to see if this language is the last element of tuple. And how do we know that? So I'll check language is equal to programming languages of -1. We have learned in the video on tuples that we can access the last item of tuple using a negative index -1. If this is not true, I want to add a comma here. So let me take this, let me just copy this language string. Now this will be appended with a comma. Let's run this program again. Now we don't see a comma at the end. I have another example here which shows how to loop through a string using for. I have a string str1 assigned with value Python, and I am looping through each character of this string. Ch is my loop variable and I'm printing the character. Let's run this. Now we see each and every character of the string. This is how you loop through a string. There is a function range in Python which generates a sequence of numbers. When I say range of 5, the sequence of numbers would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is excluded. So I want to loop through all those numbers. How can I do that? Using for loop. So for I is my loop variable and it loops through this sequence. I'm printing the value of I. Let's see the output. So the values will be printed from 0 to 4. But I want to print the numbers from 1 to 5. I will just specify print I plus 1. So I have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see another example for looping using range. So I want to print a message whenever there is a new subscriber. Let's assume there are 3 new subscribers today. So I'll see 3 notifications saying you have a new subscriber. Let's run this code. So the message is printed 3 times. We are not using this loop variable anywhere inside the for loop, right? In such cases, instead of providing loop variable, we can simply specify underscore. That means we are not interested in any kind of variables. We just want to loop some information. That's it. So let me run this again. We still see the same output. We can have else block also to for loop. When the for loop has completed looping through this sequence, the else block would be executed. I have an example here where I have the list of subjects and I'm tracking if the homework related to the subject is completed or not. Once all these subjects' homework is finished, I'll print this message saying, "Hooray, I have finished my homework." Let's run this program. So, first, this for loop is executed. It loops through each of the subjects and prints this message. Once it reaches the end of the sequence, it would execute the else block. Note that if there is a break statement or if the loop ends with a break statement, it doesn't go to the else block. Let me save this code and run it. So once it prints math done, we have a break statement here. So it doesn't loop through other items in the sequence and it doesn't go to the else block as well.